loses the audience here. I don't know if Star Trek was big for okay. Well, there's one episode of Star Trek where war is like a game, and when the computer says that 30,000 people died, then on the planet 30,000 people have to be taken into the chamber so they can be killed.
I remember that episode.
You remember that?
Yes, a long time ago, that one.
Well, all of the Star Trek episodes are a long time ago,
true,
but
yeah.
I love Star Trek and I remember them all. So at any rate, so now we've become so detached from the killing that's associated with war that if anyone looked at Operation Cast Lead that was just done in Gaza by Israel, you would have seen the firing of the white phosphorus bombs,
yeah.
And it looked like, I mean, it could have looked like some kind of special effects on a television that really didn't mean it. It was maybe kind of beautiful. But it's white phosphorus, and you know what white phorus does?
It burns right through you. Yeah.
All the way through. And in fact, I was on a panel down in Malaysia with Tun Dr. Mahathir's effort to criminalize war and hold accountable those who have ordered their countries to war, with some doctors who were in Gaza at the time, and they said, one of the pictures was they were holding up something as black as this, and 1/8 the size. That was a human body. That was what was left of the body.
Just crisp, like a piece of carbon.
That's right.
I've seen some photographs from Gaza of children that have been burned. It is horrendous. These are real people, aren't they? These are innocent people. Clearly, children cannot be guilty of any kind of war crime. And they're all in a big prison, aren't they? You know, what did you say it was in your presentation? Something 5 times the size of Washington, D.C.? Twice the size.
Of Washington, D.C. And,
but you can't cross the Potomac, can you? You can't get out.
That's right. That's right.
So
it's, eventually, I did get into Gaza, and that was because of your member of parliament, George Galloway, who saw my travails with 7 days in an Israeli prison, and called me literally the day I arrived in the United States and said, "Cynthia, come back, come to Cairo with us, and
we're going to get you in." Did you cross above ground or through the tunnels?
No, I never saw a tunnel.
Okay.
So we went above ground, but we didn't have any of the equipment that was purchased with Viva Palestina USA donations. But we were able to get into Gaza for 24 hours, and I was able to see all of the devastation that was in that song that I played on Friday night. The title of the song is "Who Is Your God?" And if you put that in quotation marks, because there's a subtle effort to black out the song, if you put it in quotation marks on YouTube, then you can see the song "Who Is Your God?" The images are there, and those are exactly the same images, even down to the donkey and the cart, that I saw when I was there for 24 hours.
So even though you managed to get into Gaza, you still had to pass through the care of the IDF, didn't you, the Israeli Defense Force, to get...
Well, no one enters without, certainly we didn't enter. There's one kind of humorous story after I did a series of interviews on television, one of which I called Mubarak a dictator. I don't think that went over very well. But then, you see, when we were going through our travails in Israel...
when you were in prison for 7 days.
When I was in prison for 7 days, the U.S. State Department, of course, said nothing. The Congress said nothing. The White House said nothing. And I had told them all in advance I was going.
Were you a serving congresswoman when you were arrested by...
No, I was not serving at that time. And but it doesn't matter. I mean, these were U.S. nationals. Ireland called for the release of their nationals. There was a debate in the House of Commons here about what happened to the UK nationals. Stone silence from the United States, even though they knew. But anyway, we were being held up by the Egyptians, who didn't really want to let the Viva Palestina USA go through the Rafah crossing. And I sent an email along with Charles Barron, who was leader of our delegation, to the State Department and the White House saying, we are here and we need to get through. Charles Barron received a phone call like 15 minutes later saying, is she there? Because I had just left prison in Israel. And of course, later we were given the 24 hours to go through.
Okay, well, some story. Well, you know, you spoke in the presentation today about your thoughts about the people of Gaza and the war against them, if you like, and the state of Israel and its intentions. I mean, do you want to explain a bit more about that?
Well, I don't know that I have anything that I can actually say about the intentions of Israel. I think we need to look at what they do. I think I'm more qualified to talk about my intentions, and my intentions are to stand up against injustice wherever I see it. Dr. King said that justice is indivisible. That means that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And if we actually believe that, then we have to do something about it. It's just like Ian Crane's last slide, where the person is in the world of the Matrix, and then they look outside and their head is out there and they can see the cogs of the system, the way it really works. And once you know how things really work and you can decipher the propaganda from the reality, then you have a responsibility to change things, to do whatever it is within your power. There are some people who will never go to prison, but they can write a check and bail the people out who do go to prison. There are some people who will never argue in a courtroom, but they can help those lawyers who are willing to argue in a courtroom. There's a role for everybody, no matter where they are, what their station in life is. There's always a role for justice.
Okay, so